This presentation is a requirement for the course Project Monitoring, Controlling, and Closing Domain as a Team Project. The project overview covers project background and project objectives. This project is geared toward providing a relief fund for the COVID-19 pandemic for micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSEs, under the Belize Tourism Board, BTB, Recovery and Enhancement Matching Grants Program. It is funded by the government of Belize via the Belize Tourism Board. It is aimed primarily at service businesses within the tourism sector of Belize. The pandemic caused a steady decline in jobs in the tourism industry. Therefore, the Belize Tourism Board, BTB, developed a project to provide relief to stakeholders to promote sustainability. The objectives for this project include the identification of growth opportunities for MSEs within the Belize tourism industry, the contribution of development initiatives to the development of the Belizean economy, and the support of small tourism businesses through assistance via provisions of a grant program. The key project deliverables include technical support via training to expression of interest applicants and grant funding to MSEs. Key performance indicators will be an increase in the GDP of the tourism sector in Belize via MSEs and a better financial standing for the Belize economy. The discussion of core concept covers 10 concepts taught in this course as follows. 1 is the project monitoring and controlling process. This process involves the identification of project changes and allows for these changes to be orchestrated in order to prevent harmful project outcomes throughout the project life cycle. Number 2 is managing change. This process is inclusive of the revision of all documentation and processes carried out throughout the project life cycle to allow for proper management of change processes within the project. Number 3 is project analysis. It establishes the economic feasibility of carrying out the project and judges whether the project is worthwhile. Number 4, control schedule proves essential for the provision of project outcomes deviation to allow for corrective and preventative actions to take place in the event of projected outcomes not occurring the way they were planned for. 5 is control cost, and this process aids in the recognition of any variances from the planned project.
Six is controlling quality and risk in a project. KPIs will be used for monitoring. A risk register was created to keep track of the relevant information. A risk management framework was also curated to ensure that the project's objectives were not negatively affected and to promote transparency and communication within the project team, as well as to minimize the possibility of already identified risks causing new risks to arise. To aid in controlling the quality of the project, inspections will be carried out and assessments will be done to ensure that the outputs of the project meets required criteria. Number 7 is control communications and stakeholder engagement, which are critical in order to promote effective communication, and stakeholder engagement reporting will be executed on a regular basis. A marketing and communication plan will be utilized along with change request documents, issue logs, project document updates, and work performance data. 8, control procurement. A procurement manager will be recruited to oversee procurement for this project along with an assistant. Control procurement aids in ensuring that both buyer and seller meet the required commitments of the contract and that these commitments are safeguarded. It also indicates to the project team the ramifications of tasks carried out during the procurement process. 9 is the closed project or phase session, and it is the last process in project integration management. The project manager will ensure that all activities carried out in the various areas of the project are completed effectively. Further, all project documents will be collected, the relevant documents will be appropriately archived, and the project manager will also ensure that the client gives final approval. Lastly, number 10, closed procurement, which is in supporting the closed phase process. The procurement manager will ensure that all documents and agreements are properly filed, that open claims are finalized, and records are amended and archived.
Now we move on to the tools and techniques utilized during the project. We utilized 8 tools and techniques to help the project define the workflow and take its shape during different phases of the project as seen here. For the team to lay out its resources and tasks, we utilized the organizational breakdown structure, work breakdown structure, and responsibility assignment matrix during the planning phase of the project. For the execution, we use Gantt chart and critical path method to schedule in tasks and determine our milestones. During the monitoring and control phase of the project, we utilized earned value management to understand our budget and its variances and utilize the risk register for risk analysis. Lastly, during the project closing phase, we used the lessons learned technique to document discoveries during the project, which in return will help minimize the same mistakes and make improvements for future projects to come. All these tools and techniques help the team to understand the plan of the project, track and manage its activities to achieve the project goals within a specific time.
We would now discuss the analysis of monitoring and controlling the project. This includes the risk analysis, variance analysis, and closing activities of the project. In order for the project manager to have a clear understanding of how the project has been performing, there is a grave need to monitor and control its activities with continuous tracking, reviewing, adjusting, and reporting of the project's performance. This allowed the project manager to make informed decisions. Monitoring and controlling are also concerned with the tracking of adverse project situations, such as risk assessment, resource assignment, and communication. This ensures the perfect execution of all tasks, which enhances efficiency and productivity. Updates of all outstanding work were presented to the Belize Tourism Board on a weekly basis. The activities included monitoring the project's activity progress that provided status indicators to the team, the possible risks, the status of change request submissions, budgetary updates, and critical milestones and deliverables. Additionally, risk assessment and risk management are key in project management practices to ensure the least surprises while the project is underway. As such, on this project, the risks were identified and a response plan was communicated at the planning stages on various government levels. Also, a risk register was presented with potential issues which could arise during the project. Some of the major risks of this project were an undefined project purpose, an incomplete project design, little to no control as it relates to staff priorities, supplier delays, scheduling errors, unplanned work that had to be accommodated for, scope creep, possible policy changes due to a new direction, and extreme weather conditions that may lead to resource losses.
Variance analysis is a critical technique that allows the project management team to compare planned performance with the actual project data continuously. And for this project, the project manager used an earned value management system to determine variances. Through that process, the quantum of deviation was assessed, key performance indicators were identified, and an estimated impact on project performance was highlighted. The project closing process involves all processes performed to conclude all activities across all project management processes. For this project, the closing processes included the project manager's assurances that all the project work was completed, and authorization by the Ministry of Tourism and other stakeholders for the completion of the project, an assessment of the various ethics and governance processes that were implemented, and concluding all administrative processes. Lastly, the project manager released the remaining project resources to the Ministry of Tourism for future undertakings in line with the Ministry of Tourism's mandate, including the lessons learned activities for future assessment to understand what did not work, what did, and what are the areas to be improved.
After a careful review of the Business Recovery and Enhancement Program for micro and small enterprises, we have made the following recommendations. For project schedule control, our recommendation is to create a baseline to allow the project team to look at actual progress and compare it to the planned progress. Additionally, the project team should conduct performance reviews, and some tools that can be used are the critical path method, project management and review technique, and earned value measurement. A project management software should be implemented to track planned dates versus actual dates and forecasting. For control cost, this is a two-step process which includes calculating variance against the baseline and planning corrective or preventative actions. The project team should consider implementing earned value measurement to assess and measure project performance and progress. Additionally, the forecasting technique should be used to update and reissue the budget based on work performance. For control quality, our recommendation is to use statistical sampling and inspection to ensure quality standards have been met. The inspection report is necessary to ensure that the recipients of the grant have completed their projects and therefore measure the success rate of the project. Additionally, the expense for the project must be audited by an independent firm, as is protocol with the Belize Tourism Board. For risk control, the project manager should perform risk assessment to identify new risks, reassess current risks, and close risks that are no longer relevant. Additionally, risk audits should be conducted to examine and document the risk responses in dealing with identified risks and causes, as well as the effectiveness of the risk management process. For communication control and stakeholder communication control, an information management system should be implemented to allow the project manager to capture, store, and distribute information to stakeholders about the project's cost, scheduled progress, and performance. Additionally, expert judgment can be used to assess the impact of the project communications and meetings held to discuss information and communicate project performance and respond to requests from stakeholders. For control procurement, we recommend the implementation of a procurement performance review, which is a structured review of the seller's progress to delivering within cost and on schedule. Additionally, a payment plan system should also be in place to ensure that an authorized person on the project team process the accounts payable system. And finally, for the closure of the project, these key tasks should be completed to ensure proper project closure, which includes obtaining acceptance by the sponsor to formally close the project, conducting post-project review, documenting lessons learned, apply appropriate updates to organizational process assets, archiving relevant project documents, closing out all procurement activities, performing team members' assessments, and release project resources.
In closing, Montesguerra et al. 2014 postulated that monitoring and controlling project management is considered to be the frequent check-in of progress during a project's implementation stage. This paper aims to provide insight into the monitoring and control methodologies, tools and techniques, and their impact on project performance implemented by the Belize Tourism Board. The project implementation team meticulously planned, critically assess the risks involved, mitigated against these risks, and control costs while maintaining quality service to their stakeholders to enable this project to be successful. Useful and practical recommendations were made. Lessons learned and knowledge accumulated from this project will hopefully be used to produce better results in other similar projects.
These are our references. This concludes our presentation. Thank you.